What if I told you there's one country that has challenged the United States for over 40 years? Yet the two have never fought a full-scale war. Despite assassinations, cyber attacks, proxy conflicts, economic sanctions, and constant military threats, Washington and Tehran have always stopped just short of all-out conflict. Why? Is Iran really powerful enough to deter the world's strongest military? Could Israel drag the United States into another Middle Eastern war? And if a war did happen, what would winning even look like? Today, we're breaking down one of the most dangerous strategic rivalries on the planet. To understand America's strategy, we first need to understand what worries Washington. Ironically, it's not that Iran is about to invade the United States. That's simply not realistic. Instead, U.S. officials see four major threats. The first, and by far the biggest, is Iran's nuclear program. Iran insists its nuclear activities are peaceful and meant for civilian energy. But here's the problem. Iran has enriched uranium far beyond the level normally required for power generation. That doesn't automatically mean it's building a nuclear bomb, but it dramatically shortens the time it would take if the leadership ever made that decision. For Washington, that's a nightmare scenario. Not because Iran would launch a nuclear missile at New York tomorrow, but because nuclear weapons change the balance of power. A nuclear-armed Iran could discourage military intervention, expand its influence across the Middle East, strengthen allied militant groups, and potentially trigger a regional nuclear arms race. Imagine Saudi Arabia, Turkey, or other regional powers deciding they also need nuclear weapons. Suddenly, one of the world's most unstable regions becomes exponentially more dangerous. When people imagine military power, they usually picture tanks, aircraft carriers, and fighter jets. That's not where Iran's greatest strength lies. Instead, Iran has spent decades building an extensive network of regional allies and proxy groups. Organizations in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen have often acted in ways that align with Iranian interests. This strategy gives Tehran influence far beyond its borders. If conflict erupts, Iran doesn't necessarily have to attack America directly. It can pressure U.S. forces and allies through multiple fronts simultaneously. That's much harder to defend against. Then there's cyber warfare. Iran has invested heavily in cyber capabilities. American officials have accused Iranian actors of cyber espionage, attacks on infrastructure, and online influence campaigns. These operations rarely make global headlines, but they represent a constant, low-level struggle happening every day beneath the surface. Finally, U.S. officials have alleged that Iranian-linked individuals have plotted attacks against current and former American officials, following the killing of General Qasem Soleimani in 2020. Many details remain classified, but the concern continues to shape American security planning. This is probably the biggest question. If Iran has been considered one of America's main adversaries for decades, why didn't Presidents Bush, Obama, Trump, or Biden launch a full-scale invasion? The answer is simple: the cost could be enormous. First, Iran is not Iraq. It's nearly 4 times larger geographically. It has more than 90 million people. Its military facilities are spread across mountains and hardened underground sites. Invading Iran would be vastly more difficult than previous American wars in the region. Second, Iran can retaliate almost immediately. American bases across Iraq, Syria, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and elsewhere could all become targets. Missiles, drones, proxy attacks, even Israel and Gulf allies could come under sustained pressure. Instead of ending quickly, the conflict could spread across the entire Middle East. Third, there's the global economy. Iran borders one of the world's most important waterways, the Strait of Hormuz. Around 1/5 of globally traded oil passes through this narrow passage. If shipping were disrupted, even temporarily, energy prices could surge worldwide. Higher fuel prices, higher inflation, economic shocks affecting countries far from the Middle East. Finally, military planners always ask the hardest question. What happens after the bombing stops? Destroying nuclear facilities doesn't erase scientific knowledge. Without a long-term political solution, military victories may only delay the problem instead of solving it. Even within the U.S. government, there's never been complete agreement. Some policymakers believe deterrence and diplomacy, despite their imperfections, are still preferable to another major war. Others argue that every year Iran grows stronger. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton has long been one of the strongest advocates of a tougher approach. He has argued for maximum pressure and has expressed support for replacing Iran's current government. Supporters believe diplomacy has only bought Iran more time. Critics argue military action could unleash consequences that are impossible to control. That debate continues today, shaping strategic decisions on both sides. Israel's perspective is much more immediate. Israeli leaders have long argued that Iran isn't just another regional competitor. Iran has supported armed groups including Hezbollah and Hamas, while some Iranian leaders have questioned Israel's legitimacy. For Israel, the concern isn't simply today's Iran, it's tomorrow's Iran. If Tehran ever gained the ability to rapidly produce nuclear weapons, Israeli leaders fear their security environment would change permanently. That's why many Israeli governments have argued that preventive military action may be necessary before Iran crosses that threshold. Critics disagree. They argue repeated military strikes could strengthen hardline factions inside Iran, increase regional instability, and ultimately delay, but not eliminate, the nuclear program. Both sides believe they're acting to improve security. They simply disagree on how to achieve it. One narrow stretch of water has enormous global importance: the Strait of Hormuz. It's the main exit route for oil and natural gas from Gulf producers. Millions of barrels pass through it every day. When conflict threatened commercial shipping, oil prices surged. Global markets reacted almost immediately. Energy costs increased. Inflationary pressures intensified in many countries. Governments and businesses around the world watched closely, because even limited disruptions in the Gulf affected economies far beyond the Middle East. This is one reason why tensions between the United States and Iran matter far beyond the region itself. This is where things become complicated. Iran probably cannot defeat either the United States or Israel in a conventional military war, but that's not necessarily its objective. Its priority is survival. If the government remains in power, if its military deterrence survives, if its regional influence continues, Tehran could claim victory, even after suffering heavy damage. Israel's objective is different. Its goal is preventing Iran from becoming a nuclear weapons state while reducing long-term security threats. For the United States, the challenge is balancing multiple goals at once: prevent nuclear proliferation, protect allies, keep global trade flowing, and avoid becoming trapped in another prolonged Middle Eastern war. Those goals don't always align. Sometimes solving one problem creates another. That's why victory is so difficult to define. After more than 4 decades of confrontation, one thing has become clear: neither side appears capable of achieving a decisive victory. The United States can damage Iran's military and nuclear infrastructure, but it cannot erase scientific knowledge or easily reshape Iranian politics. Iran cannot defeat America militarily, but it can raise the costs of conflict high enough to discourage direct war. Israel seeks lasting security, but military operations alone may not permanently eliminate future threats. In many ways, that's the real dilemma. Each side defines success differently, and those definitions are fundamentally incompatible, which is why the most likely future isn't peace, and it probably isn't total war either. It's something we've seen for decades: a tense balance of deterrence, economic pressure, proxy conflicts, cyber warfare, diplomacy, and periodic military escalation. A rivalry that continues without a clear ending. What do you think? Is deterrence enough to prevent a larger war? Or is a direct confrontation becoming increasingly unavoidable? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into global strategy and international affairs, don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.